Yo, what's good, folks? Let's set the scene right here. It's 2025 and you're all pumped up, controller in hand, ready to dive deep into that fresh indie game you have been eyeing for weeks. Maybe it's a retro pixel art brawler with killer combos, or perhaps a steamy visual novel packed with plot twists and character arcs that hit different. You got your snacks lined up and your setup optimized, and BAM! You hit play. But hold up, instead of loading screens and epic soundtracks, you get hit with the ultimate gut punch, a blank space in your library. Error, content unavailable. Your Steam collection, it's like half of it got vaporized in some digital apocalypse. Itch.io, that haven for quirky devs, turned into a barren wasteland overnight, with titles vanishing faster than loot in a battle royale. This isn't some glitchy nightmare from buggy launch like Cyberpunk 2077 back in the day. Nah, this is cold hard reality slapping you in the face. In just one chaotic week, the big payment titans, Visa and Mastercard, transformed into unstoppable raid bosses. They didn't swing swords or cast spells, they just flexed their financial muscles, forcing platforms to purge thousands of games to avoid getting blacklisted. And who's behind this power play? Enter Collective South, the veteran censorship squad that's been leveling up their game since 2009. These folks aren't new to the scene. They have been targeting everything from gritty movies to explicit music and those infamous sites with black and yellow logos. But now they hit their ultimate form, soaking the life out of creative freedom. In this deep dive, we are speedrunning the entire saga from their humble origins to this dystopian endgame. We will break it down with more grit, more example, and way more gaming metaphors. Cringy, right? To keep the energy high. Expect timelines spanning from 2009 to 2025, breakdowns of FOSTA-SESTA's broken mechanics, Japan's cultural siege, and indie devs massacre, even Netflix's sneaky Shadowban tactics. It's all tied to one broken OP mechanic. If you control the money flow, you control the entire meta. Whether you're a hardcore gamer or a casual creator, or just someone who digs free expression, this story got layers. Strap in, suck that energy drink, and let's raid the boss fight together. We are talking about epic wins, crushing defeats, and call to arms that could change the game forever. Alright, let's rewind to the spawn point. Collective South isn't just some random mob that popped out of nowhere. They were formed in Australia back in 2009. A tight-knit crew with clear quest log, call out and shut down anything they deem objectifying or degrading to women and kids. At the helm, Melinda Tankard Race, their charismatic raid leader who got that unshakable plus 10 aura buff of feminism. She authored books, spoken at events, and rallied troops with messages that's all about protection and empowerment. Their early days were like grinding low-level quests to build up rep. They started small but smart, targeting media that stirred up controversy. Think of them as that persistent guild that keeps spamming the chat until the devs notice. One of their first major boss fights was against a Sabrine film in 2011. This movie was dark, twisted, and not for the faint of heart, full of extreme violence and themes that pushed boundaries. Collective South didn't just complain, they organized a massive spam attack on Australia's classification board. They flooded the system with complaints, highlighting scenes they saw as exploitative. The result? Film's original R18+ rating got revoked, efficiently banning it from legal distribution down under. It was a nasty flick, no doubt, but this win showed their strat. Use shock value to draw aggro and force changes. Building on that momentum, they leveled up in 2012 by targeting Lingerie Football League. Picture this, woman in sports gear playing tackle football, but with a sexy twist. That Collective South labeled as straight up sexist XP farm. They argued it reduced athletes to eye candy, pressuring sponsors and organizers. The league didn't fully disband, but the backlash was real. Sponsors started bailing like noobs fleeing from a doomed raid. It was a partial victory, but proved their influence could ripple into live events. Then came 2013, when they set their sights on the rapper Tyler, the creator. His lyrics were raw, edgy, and packed with controversial themes. Collective South campaigned hard, claiming his words promoted violence against women. They pushed for his visa to be denied for an Australian tour. Immigration officials didn't go full ban, but the drama escalated, leading to cancellation and restrictions. Tyler's tour took a massive hit, like getting debuffed mid-performance. It highlighted how they could impact music and tours without needing a courtroom win. By 2014, they were ready for a AAA target, Grand Theft Auto 5. This open-world beast was already a blockbuster, but Collective South saw it as a tutorial for real-life griefing, especially against female characters. They mobilized support, farming over 40,000 signatures on a petition that painted the game as harmful. Retail giants like Target and Kmart in Australia caved under the pressure, pulling GTA 5 from shelves. It was first time that a major video game got bodied like that in retail. A critical hit that sent shockwaves through the industry. Their playbook was crystal clear from these early grinds. Shock tactics to grab attention, distribution bans to crush sales, and farming everything under protect women and children act as an ultimate support buff. They weren't just yelling at the void, they were strategically building alliance and pressuring weak points. As years rolled on, Collective South diversified their targets. They campaigned against billboards, magazines, and even fashion ads they felt objectified people. Each win added to their XP, making them bolder. By 2018, they evolved their build, shifting from direct bans to something more insidious: financial censorship. It was time to spec into a new skill tree, one that would change the game forever. Now let's talk about the patch that broke the server. FOSTA-SESTA dropped in US in 2018. The legislation was marked as a heroic quest to combat trafficking. On the surface, it sounded noble, like equipping platforms with tools to take down bad actors. But dig deeper and it's a game-breaking update that handed payment processors a legendary weapon of mass disruption. Before FOSTA-SESTA, Section 230 was the ultimate invincibility frame for online platforms and financial services. It shielded them from liability for user-generated content, meaning they couldn't be sued for what people posted or sold. It was like having God mode enabled, free to host without fear. Post 2018, that shield got nerfed hard. Now, if a platform facilitated anything that could be linked to trafficking, even loosely, they faced legal heat. Payment giants like Visa and Mastercard started sweating potential lawsuits over edgy or adult content. To protect themselves, they rolled out vague brand protection policies. These were like ambiguous quest objectives, no high-risk activities. But what counts as high-risk? Anything they decide, from explicit videos to mature games. For Collective South, this was like pulling Excalibur from a stone, a power-up that amplified their influence exponentially. They could now bypass the traditional censorship routes and go straight for a wallet. No more pigtailing stores or petitioning boards, just pressure the money handlers and watch the dominoes fall. The impact was immediate and widespread. Platforms scrambled to comply, self-censorship to avoid getting cut off. By 2025, the legal buff had escalated into a full-on censorship endgame, where financial gatekeepers dictated the content rules without oversight. Imagine a multiplayer game where devs can ban you not for cheating, but for playing in a style they don't like. That's the searing vibe FOSTA-SESTA unleashed, setting the stage for a global chaos. With the new rules in play, the first major casualty was the graphic content industry. In 2020, Visa and Mastercard executed a devastating combo breaker on a massive site known for its black and yellow logo, home to millions of videos and creators. Overnight, they halted payment processing, making it impossible to buy or subscribe. No court ruling, no police investigation, just pure processor panic triggered by FOSTA-SESTA's liability threats. The fallout was brutal. Traffic plummeted as users couldn't pay, forcing the site to verify every piece of content, which led to massive purges. Creators who relied on this for income were left scrambling like PvP players after a total server wipe. Many pivoted to free models or alternative sites, but damage was done. Then, in 2021, the drama hit a site known as OF pretty hard. This platform, famous for creator-driven content, announced ban on explicit materials. Why? Banks and payment processors got cold feet, citing the same legal risks. Creators erupted in outrage. Imagine your entire questline getting erased mid-progress, with livelihoods on the line. The backlash was massive. Users and creators flooding social media, organizing petitions, and threatening mass exodus. OF backtracked within days, but the message was clear. Payment processors had become the new content overlords. Sites started exploring cryptocurrency payments and obscure gateways, but for most everyday users, that's like grinding a high-level tech tree without right gear, clunky and inaccessible. The precedent wasn't just one-off, it established a meta: control the gold and you control everything. It paved way for broader attacks, showing how financial choke points could silence voices without a single law being passed. Shifting gears to the east, the payment processors launched an invasion on Japan, the holy land of anime, manga, and otaku culture. Japan's digital economy thrives on niche content, doujinshi cycles, visual novels, boys' love stories, and experimental art. Much of it relies on global sales via Visa or Mastercard. When brand protection bans rolled in 2022, it was like a cultural nuke. Platforms had to adapt or die. DL Site, a go-to for indie digital comics and games, introduced convoluted point system. Buy points with cards, then use those points to purchase content. It was a workaround, but super clunky, like navigating a menu with input lag. Melon Books, another staple for manga fans, ditched card payments altogether, which cratered their overseas revenue. Fans outside Japan were left high and dry, unable to support creators easily. In 2024, Manga Library Z, operated under industry legend Ken Akamatsu, shut down completely after losing all payment options. Akamatsu, known for his hits like Love Hina, had built it as a haven for digital manga, but financial squeeze was too much. Other platforms felt the pain too. Pixiv and Fanbox, hubs for fan art and commissions, imposed hefty 30% cuts on payouts to cover alternative processing fees. Fantia followed suit, nerfing creator earnings. Even Nico Nico, the video sharing site with live streams, paused Visa subscriptions, leaving streamers without reliable income. This wasn't just limited to explicit content. Japan's unique niche like quirky gore manga or emotional BL tales got caught in the crossfire of foreign moral standards. It felt like an cultural imperialism raid, where Western policies dictated Eastern creativity. Creators and politicians fought back. Taro Yamada, a vocal advocate, teamed up with Akamatsu to rally support. Their efforts culminated in 2025 when Japan's Fair Trade Commission slapped sanctions on Visa for anti-competitive practices. It was the first time a nation landed a solid hit on the giants. But the scars ran deep. Japan's creative HP bars were critically low, and recovery would take time. Fast forward to April 2025, and Sega hits its gaming climax with No Mercy. A gritty simulation game loaded with intense gore and dark narrative. It's not ultra explicit, just deeper storytelling, but Collective South saw it as prime target practice. They unleashed spam barrage on Valve, flooding their inboxes with around 3,463 emails. Yeah, they tallied everyone. And backed it with a petition boasting 70,000 signatures. The pressure worked. The game vanished from Steam in days. But that was the opener, cause Collective South escalated by dropping an open letter to Visa, Mastercard, PayPal, demanding they stop funding platforms that host harmful content, co-signed by allied organizations. It was a bold power move, leveraging FOSTA-SESTA's legacy. By July 16th, Valve responded with a panic patch, Rule 15, explicitly banning content that could upset payment processors. Overnight, hundreds of games from LGBTQ+ narratives to romance sims and mature adventures got Thanos snapped from the existence. Itch.io, the indie darling, hid 20,000 NSFW titles from search results to comply. No Mercy might have been the spark, but the fire spread wild, proving financial censorship had reached god-tier level. Money now decides what you can play, no debate needed. While Steam grabbed the spotlight with its massive user base, Itch.io suffered the most devastating blow. On July 28, 2025, the platform made 20,000 NSFW games invisible in searches after processors pulled support. This wasn't a minor glitch, it was a catastrophe for indie devs. These creators are scrappy underdogs, solo artists pouring heart into niche projects like experimental horror or heartfelt queer stories. Suddenly, their visibility is tanked, sales dried up, and dreams shattered. Alternative options emerged, like crypto wallets or regional payment gateways, but they came with a steep fee, up to 15% cuts, and technical hurdles that alienated casual buyers. Self-hosted stores, they offered control but zero discoverability, like hiding your game in a secret level that no one knows of. Even non-explicit titles weren't safe. Tame romance visual novels got flagged if they touched on mature themes, all because they didn't fit the processor's narrow purity standards. One dev going by Pixelpunk vented on X, lost 80% of my income in a week. This was my life's work, gone because of corporate whims. The indie scene, once vibrant ecosystem of innovation, is now bleeding out. Big platforms shrug it off, but the loss of diverse voices is a tragedy that's reshaping the gaming from the ground up. Gamers aren't the type to sit down when their world gets nerfed. The backlash was swift and furious, like a global raid party assembling for the final boss. Petitions surged past 250,000 signatures, with hashtags like StopPayPros trending across social media. Discord communities organized strategic sessions, sharing templates for emails and calls to tie up processor hotlines for hours. Physical protests erupted outside Visa and Mastercard headquarters, with crowds waving signs like "Hands off our games" and "Money ain't morality." Fans echoed, demanding accountability. The processors played coy, insisting we don't control content, but leaked emails revealed they were strong-arming banks with reputational risk warnings. The community didn't buy it, pivoting to lawmakers with floods of messages urging reform. The rage is palpable, but this is just the opening skirmish. Gamers are resilient, they are in it for a long haul. Finally, governments took off their NPC status and entered the fray. Japan led the surge in 2025, with Fair Trade Commission sanctioning visa for shifting competition. Advocates like Taro Yamada and Kei Nakamatsu were the MVPs, farming it as the defense of cultural heritage. In US, the Payment Choice Act gained traction, pushed by Senators Kevin Cramer and John Fetterman. It's aimed at curbing processors' ability to play morality police, ensuring diverse payment options. Australia, Collective South's home turf, faced mounting pressure to protect creators after years of unchecked campaigns. Lawmakers are debating regulations to balance free speech with financial access. These moves signal a shift. Payment processors are now seen as digital freedom's biggest threats, with Visa and Mastercard holding 90% of the card market as of 2024 stats. It's a tough fight. Progress is happening, but victory is far from guaranteed. Amidst the gaming chaos, Netflix perfected a subtler approach. Stealth censorship instead of outright bans. They used algorithm tweaks to vary content. Take Cuties in 2020. It sparked outrage for its portrayal of young dancers. Netflix didn't remove it, but hid it from recommendations and searches. You could only find it with direct URL, like a hidden Easter egg. This soft censorship lets them avoid backlash while controlling visibility. Gaming platforms might adopt it next. Imagine searching for a mature title and getting a kid-friendly suggestion instead. It's sneaky, effective, and a vibe killer, proving censorship doesn't always need a hammer. Sometimes a shadow is enough. This saga extends beyond pixels and controllers. Art, politics, journalism, anything labeled risky could face financial strangulation. News outlets might lose ad deals over controversial stories. Political groups could see donations dry up if processors disagree with their views. Digital culture is teetering on the edge, vulnerable to corporate whims without due process. Picture your favorite meme page getting axed because it offends a boardroom. That's the kind of nightmare we are flirting with. In response, creators are building resistance kits. Cryptos like Ethereum offers decentralizations, but volatility and gas fees make it a gamble. Niche processors and direct bank transfers provide a workaround, though 10 to 20% fees that bite into the profits. For small devs, it's a slog. Governments are stepping in with laws, like Japan's sanction and US bills. But change is glacial. The push is for decentralized future, where no single entity holds the keys. So, wrapping up, money has become the ultimate meta, silencing creators left and right. Collective South's 16-year grind led to this. But fightback is real from gamers, devs, and even officials. Stay in the game, support alternative payments, contact your apps, and keep the noise up. The internet thrives on free expression, not gatekeeper greed. Thanks for joining the raid. Let's clutch this win for the truly open digital world. And thank you for watching.